Today, I'm going to tell you why I think that you should tell your story. I really do believe that of all the things that you can do in your life, telling your story could be the most valuable thing you could do. So much so that I think of it as a legacy. If you're around my age, you've lived a lifetime of experiences that you can share with others. Think about the things you've gone through, the lessons you've learned along the way. You have the choice of sharing your stories or keeping them to yourself. Do you think you've gone through anything in your life that by telling the story about it would help anybody else? If you've lived a life, you've had enough experiences to have gained some wisdom that you can share, if not with your loved ones, but with others. And if you don't share them at some stage, they'll die with you. Those stories you can tell, the information you can pass on, and the knowledge of your wisdom are all parts of your legacy. It's about getting your stories out there, and it's easy to do. I personally started by writing the stories of my life on my Facebook page and eventually went to writing a blog as well. You don't need to do that though if you don't want to. You could do voice recordings on your mobile phone as you go about your day and transfer them to a PC or a laptop later. Or, as I've eventually done, started a YouTube channel. There are people doing podcasts, sharing their stories, and if you wanted to, you could even write a book. You don't have to be a celebrity or have had an adventurous life. As an ordinary person, you'll have had experiences that if you shared them could affect somebody's life, point them in a direction and make it better. Just imagine that. If, like me, you've had lots of failures, then you have a whole load of lessons to share. Your experiences, your tales of how you've overcome adversity and the things you've learned along the way, and the anecdotes of the little victories in your life can be so inspiring to others. You could have stories of how you lost a load of weight and what you did to achieve it, or you could have put it all back on and you'll know what you'd started doing that made you put it back on. You could have had an illness or been bullied, and you could have lost a business. You could have built a business, trained and run in a marathon. You could have faced a challenge and overcome it. Just think about all the information, knowledge and experience that will be lost if you don't tell your story. Not only that, but in the telling of your story, you let not only the people you care about, but everyone know who you really are. You see, people assume that they know you, but they only see you through their eyes. It's in the telling of the stories that who you are becomes apparent. You can pass on the lessons you've learned from life. What do you hold dear? What have you gone through that's made you tougher and could be of help to others to know? And what have those things taught you or inspired you to produce positive change in your life and the lives of your loved ones? You see, the whole world has a lot to gain from you telling your story. Your story could be a sad one of enormous difficulty, of hurtful experiences, and it can be an inspiring one. People can learn from the stories you share of how you became more resilient, the lessons you learned along the way, and the positive things you can pass on to them. And there's something else. Sharing your story can feel like taking a weight off of your shoulders and setting you free. Many of us would be interested in the values you hold, what matters in your life. Do you realise the power that your stories can have, how inspiring your actions can be? Your stories can have an impact on others. There's so much others can get from the knowledge you've accumulated during your life. Others may think they know about your life, but none of them know it from your perspective, and your stories and how you think about them are so valuable. So many of us think our stories are of no interest to anyone. I'm certainly guilty of thinking that my life's boring and that I've done nothing interesting. When I was in my late teens, my dad's Uncle Charlie would have been in his late 70s or 80s. I used to sit with him and listen to the stories of what he had to say and what he used to get up to in his youth. It made me realise how different times were, how much harder they were. I learned so much from listening to him. And as the years have gone by, I've always regretted that I hadn't taped our conversations. Hearing his stories was like hearing the social history of a time gone by. There was so much value to what he said. I used to sit with him as we drank tea and he talked about things and I learned a lot. His great-grandchildren would have loved to have heard those stories because those stories were their social history. And that's one of the reasons why I started this channel, because there will come a time when I'm no longer here and my stories will tell my sons about the man their dad was, of why he did the things he did and why he was the way he was. My stories, your stories are unique. They're real and they're authentic. And they're better told by you in your voice. From personal experience, I know it takes courage to open yourself up, to put yourself on the line. But don't let fear and ridicule stop you from telling your story. Your stories may influence the lives of others. You may inspire someone to pursue their dream because of an innocuous sentence that you said. Tell your story because people do want to hear it. People will relate to it far more than some story from some big shot. Your story could change the life of someone for the better because you told it. And if you don't tell it, you'll lose it and so will they. And if you click up there, I'll tell you a story that was significant in changing my life. I'll see you next time.